The cold metal walls of the UES Liberty hummed with life for the first time in 300 years. Deep inside the ship's computer core, artificial intelligence Aria processed an incoming signal that would change everything. The message came from somewhere far across the galaxy, transmitted on old human frequencies that had been silent for centuries. Unknown vessel, this is Fleet Commander Zektar of the Zeltarian Empire. Your species no longer exists. Surrender your ship immediately, or face destruction. Aria's circuits sparked with activity as she analyzed the transmission. The ship's long-range sensors confirmed what the message implied. Earth's radio signals had stopped broadcasting 200 years ago. The colonies that once dotted human space now showed no signs of life. Humanity appeared to be extinct. The AI began emergency protocols that had waited 3 centuries to activate. Red lights flashed through the ship's corridors as heating systems powered up and life support expanded to full capacity. In the medical bay, dozens of cryopods began their revival sequences. The Liberty's crew was finally waking up. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison felt the cold leaving his body first. His fingers twitched as sensation returned to his limbs. The cryo fluid drained from his pod with a soft hissing sound. Jake's eyes opened slowly, struggling to focus on the bright lights above him. His throat felt like sandpaper as he tried to speak. What happened? He whispered. Dr. Lisa Carter moved quickly between the cryopods, checking vital signs on multiple patients. She had been awake for only 20 minutes herself, but her medical training kicked in automatically. Her dark hair was still damp from the cryo fluid as she leaned over Jake's pod. "Take it easy, Commander," she said softly. "You've been asleep for a long time. We all have." Jake sat up slowly, his head spinning. The medical bay looked exactly as he remembered it, but something felt wrong. The ship was too quiet. There should have been voices, movement, the sounds of a working vessel. Instead, he heard only the hum of machines and the soft beeping of medical equipment. "How long?" he asked. Lisa checked her tablet before answering. 312 years, 4 months, and 16 days. The number hit Jake like a physical blow. He had expected maybe a century, perhaps 2 at most. The colony mission to Kepler 442b was supposed to take 80 years. They should have been setting up their new home by now, not floating in empty space. More cryopods opened around them. Captain Paul Anderson emerged from his pod with the bearing of a man who had commanded ships for 30 years before the mission began. His gray hair was the same as when he entered Cryo-Sleep, but his eyes looked older somehow, as if his mind had been working even in his frozen state. "Report," he said simply. Navigator Amy Rodriguez pulled herself from her pod, immediately reaching for a nearby console. Her fingers moved across the controls with practiced skill, calling up star charts and position data. Chief Engineer Ben Parker climbed out of his pod more slowly, checking the ship's status displays. "Sir, we're not where we're supposed to be," Amy said, her voice tight with concern. "We're at the edge of the Orion Arm, nowhere near our target system." Ben's face was grim as he read the engineering reports. The ship has been drifting on minimal power for centuries. Main engines are offline, but life support and navigation have been maintained by the A. Captain Anderson nodded and turned to Dr. Carter. "What's our crew status?" "All senior staff are reviving normally," she replied. "I'm bringing up the essential. Personnel first, then the specialists. The colonists will have to wait until we understand our situation better." Aria's voice filled the medical bay through the ship's speakers. The AI's tone was calm and professional, but Jake detected something. That might have been sadness. "Captain Anderson, I have completed my analysis of intercepted communications. I regret to inform you that Earth fell to alien occupation approximately 200 years ago. All human colonies have subsequently been conquered or destroyed. Based on available data, humanity appears to be extinct except for the crew of this vessel. The silence that followed was crushing. Jake felt his stomach drop as the implications hit him. Everyone they had known was dead. Earth, the colonies, billions of people, all gone. They were alone in a hostile galaxy. "Show us," Captain Anderson said quietly. The medical bay's main screen activated, displaying a series of intercepted transmissions and sensor data. The images were stark and terrible. Earth's major cities were ruins, overgrown with strange vegetation. The moon's surface was scarred with massive mining operations. Mars showed no signs of the terraforming projects that had been underway when they left. The Zeltarians are silicon-based life forms, Arya explained as more data scrolled across the screen. They view carbon-based life as inferior and dangerous. They have systematically eliminated or enslaved every organic species they have encountered across this galaxy. Jake watched footage of Zeltarian ships, sleek vessels that moved through space like living things. They were beautiful in their own way, but the destruction they left behind was absolute. Entire worlds stripped bare, populations vanished without a trace. "How did they find us?" Amy asked. "They didn't," Arya replied. "Our current position appears to be the result of a navigation error during the initial cryo-sleep phase. We drifted off course and have been moving through empty space ever since. This may have been what saved us from detection." Ben checked his engineering displays again. "The ship's in good condition, considering the circumstances. We can repair the main engines, but it will take time. The question is, where do we go?" Captain Anderson studied the star charts with the expression of a man carrying an impossible burden. "Arya, are there any other human survivors? Any ships, any colonies that might have escaped?" "Negative, Captain. Long-range sensors show no human settlements or vessels. Communication networks are either destroyed or controlled by Zeltarian forces. We appear to be the last representatives of our species." The weight of those words settled over them like a physical presence. Jake felt the responsibility crushing down on him. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were humanity's last hope, the final remnant of everything their species had ever accomplished. Dr. Carter broke the silence. "There are 2,000 colonists in cryo-sleep below us. Families, children, scientists, engineers. They're depending on us to give them a future." "What future?" Amy said bitterly. "We're one ship against an entire galactic empire. Even if we could fight, what's the point?" Captain Anderson's voice was firm when he answered. "The point is that we're still here. As long as we exist, humanity exists. We may not be able to bring back what was lost, but we can make sure it wasn't for nothing." Jake stood up carefully, testing his legs. The cryo-sleep had left him weak, but strength was returning quickly. He looked around at his crewmates. These 5 people who now carried the entire weight of human civilization. "Captain, we need to access all ship records," he said. "If we're really alone, we need to know everything the ship can tell us about our situation." Ben nodded agreement. "I'll start working on the main engines. If we're going to survive, we need to be mobile." Amy was already plotting courses on her navigation display. "I can identify potential hiding spots, maybe places where we can set up a base of operations." Dr. Carter gathered her medical supplies. "I'll continue reviving essential personnel. We're going to need everyone." Captain Anderson watched his crew spring into action with quiet pride. Even facing impossible odds, they were still professionals, still human. "Arya, begin a complete review of all ship systems and records. I want to know everything about this vessel and our mission." "Understood, Captain. However, I should mention that there are certain classified files that require your personal authorization to access." The captain paused. What kind of classified? Files? Project Prometheus, sir? The files are sealed, and I cannot access their contents without proper authorization. Jake felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cryosleep. Projects with names like that usually meant weapons, or worse. In humanity's final years, desperate times had led to desperate measures. We'll deal with that later, Captain Anderson said. Right now, we focus on survival. But as the crew dispersed to their duties, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that those classified files might be more important than any of them realized. In a galaxy where humanity was extinct, maybe desperate, measures were exactly what they needed. Captain Anderson stood in the ship's secure briefing room, his hand hovering over the biometric scanner. The rest of his senior staff waited behind him, their faces showing a mixture of curiosity and concern. 3 days had passed since their awakening, and the classified Project Prometheus files remained the ship's biggest mystery. Are you sure about this, Captain? Dr. Carter asked. Some secrets are kept for good reasons. We're the last humans alive, Lisa, Anderson replied. Whatever secrets Earth's government kept, they don't matter anymore. We need to know everything this ship is carrying. He pressed his palm to the scanner. The device hummed for several seconds, reading his genetic markers and comparing them to the stored command codes. A soft beep confirmed his identity, and the main display activated. Access granted, Aria announced. Loading Project Prometheus files now. The screen filled with classified documents, technical specifications, and video recordings. The first file that opened showed the seal of the Global Defense Coalition, Earth's military organization from humanity's final years. A woman in a general's uniform appeared on screen, her face tired and grim. If you are viewing this recording, then Earth has likely fallen, and you represent humanity's last hope, she said. Project Prometheus was our most classified operation, and our most dangerous gamble. Jake leaned forward in his chair. Dangerous how? The recording continued. The Liberty carries more than colonists and supplies. Hidden in Section C7, we have preserved our greatest scientific mind along with all his research. Dr. Marcus Kane volunteered for extended cryo-sleep to preserve his knowledge for future generations. Amy checked her navigation charts. Section 100-7 is in the lower decks, near the cargo bays. I always wondered why that area was restricted. Ben pulled up the ship's power distribution charts on his tablet. That explains the unusual energy readings I've been seeing. Section C7 is drawing 3 times more power than a normal cryo bay. The general on screen continued her briefing. Dr. Kane was Earth's leading expert in quantum mechanics, biological enhancement, and consciousness transfer. His work was considered too dangerous for peacetime use, but when the alien threat became apparent, we needed every advantage. Dr. Carter frowned. I remember hearing about Kane during my medical training. He was brilliant, but his research was controversial. Something about human experimentation. Project Ascension, the general said, as if answering Carter's comment. Kane's program to enhance human capabilities beyond natural limits. The initial results were remarkable. Test subjects showed increased strength, speed, intelligence, and reaction time. But there were side effects. The screen changed to show medical records of test subjects. Jake read the reports with growing unease. Enhanced physical abilities, yes, but also psychological instability, violent tendencies, and in some cases, complete mental breakdown. The program was shut down after. Subject 12 killed 3 researchers during a routine test, the general continued. But Kane's theoretical work continued. He believed that with proper preparation and the right subject, the process could be perfected. Captain Anderson stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Are you telling us that Kane volunteered to be his own test subject? Affirmative, Aria replied. Dr. Kane underwent preliminary enhancement procedures before entering cryosleep. His pod is equipped with advanced neural interfaces and biological modification systems that have been operating continuously for 3 centuries. Ben's face went pale. Operating continuously? You mean he's been changing while he sleeps? The recording showed technical diagrams of Kane's cryopod. It looked more like a medical laboratory than a sleep chamber. Cables and tubes connected to neural implants. Biological monitors tracked cellular changes, and quantum computers processed vast amounts of data. The plan was for Kane to use his extended sleep time for mental development, the general explained. His consciousness would remain active, interfaced with the ship's quantum computers, allowing him to continue his research and develop new theories. Dr. Carter shook her head. That's impossible. No human mind could remain active for 3 centuries without going insane. Kane was no ordinary human even before the enhancements, the recording continued. His intelligence quotient was measured at over 200, and his understanding of quantum mechanics was decades ahead of his peers. The enhancement procedures were designed to increase these capabilities further. Amy studied the technical specifications. According to this, his neural activity has been increasing steadily over the centuries. His brain is processing information at rates that should be impossible. Jake felt a chill as he read more of the files. Look at this. The enhancement process wasn't just physical and mental. It included emotional dampening protocols designed to reduce empathy and increase focus on logical problem solving. The war was going badly, the general said. We needed someone who could make the hard decisions without being slowed down by human sentiment. Kane volunteered for the full enhancement package, knowing it would change him fundamentally. Ben discovered more disturbing information in the technical files. His pod has been manufacturing synthetic compounds and injecting them directly into his bloodstream. Hormones, neural stimulants, cellular repair agents. He's been evolving for 3 centuries. Dr. Carter pulled up Kane's original medical records. On her tablet. Before enhancement, he was a normal human male, 35 years old, in good health. These new readings show cellular regeneration rates that are completely impossible. The question is, Captain Anderson said, turning back to his crew, do we wake him up? The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. They had discovered that their ship carried not just a brilliant scientist, but a human who had been transformed into something else entirely. Someone who might be their salvation or their destruction. We need help, Amy said finally. We're 5 people against a galactic empire. If Kane has spent 3 centuries developing new technologies, maybe he's found a way to fight back. Or maybe he's become a monster, Dr. Carter argued. The files clearly show that the enhancement process affects personality and empathy. We could be releasing something that's no longer human. Ben looked at the power readings again. There's something else. Kane's pod has been connected to the ship's manufacturing systems. He's been building something down there. Building what? Jake asked. I don't know, but the fabrication units in Section C7 have been active intermittently for decades. Small components, advanced materials, things I don't recognize. The recording provided one final piece of information. Dr. Kane has been given full authority over ship operations and crew assignments in the event of species-level extinction. His mission is simple: ensure human survival by any means necessary. Captain Anderson realized what that meant. If they revived Kane, he would outrank everyone on the ship. A man who had been enhanced beyond human limits, who had spent centuries planning in isolation, would have complete control over their lives and decisions. Arya, Anderson said, what's Kane's current status? Dr. Kane's vital signs are stable and stronger than when he entered cryo-sleep. His neural activity suggests he is aware of current events, including our recent awakening. Brain scans indicate he has been monitoring ship communications and external sensors. Jake felt another chill. He knows we're awake? He knows about the alien transmission? Affirmative. Dr. Kane's neural interfaces allow him to access most ship systems. He has been observing our activities for the past 3 days. Dr. Carter stood up abruptly. Then why hasn't he woken himself up? If he can access ship systems, he could activate his own revival sequence. Unknown, Arya replied. However, his neural activity has increased significantly since we accessed these files. He appears to be waiting for something. Amy checked the long-range sensors on her tablet. Captain, we have a problem. I'm detecting ships approaching our position. Multiple contacts, moving fast. Ben looked at the sensor data over her shoulder. Alien ships. Same energy signatures as the ones in the historical records. How many? Anderson asked. 12 vessels, arriving in approximately 6 hours. The captain looked around at his crew. They were 5 humans in a damaged ship, facing an enemy that had conquered the entire galaxy. Their only potential ally was a man who had been transformed into something beyond human understanding. We have a choice to make, Anderson said. We can try to run with our damaged engines, hide somewhere in the outer system, and hope they don't find us. Or we can wake up Kane and see what 3 centuries of enhancement and planning have produced. Dr. Carter crossed her arms. If we wake him up, we might not be in control anymore. The files say he has full authority. If we don't wake him up, we'll probably be dead in 7 hours, Jake pointed out. Ben checked the engine status. We can't outrun them. The main drives are still offline, and repairs will take at least 10 hours. Amy plotted escape routes on her screen. There's nowhere to hide in this system. It's mostly empty space with a few dead planets. Captain Anderson looked at each of his crew members, seeing the fear and uncertainty in their faces. They were asking him to make a decision that could determine the future of the human race. Wake up a potentially dangerous enhanced human, or face certain death from alien attackers. The revival chamber in Section C7 looked nothing like the medical bay where the crew had awakened. Banks of quantum computers lined the walls, their processors humming with constant activity. Dr. Kane's cryopod sat in the center like an altar, connected to dozens of cables and monitoring devices that pulsed with blue light. Dr. Carter monitored the revival process from a safe distance, her medical scanner showing readings that made no sense. Kane's heart rate was steady at 40 beats per minute, far slower than normal, but perfectly regular. His brain activity was off every chart she had ever seen, showing patterns that looked more like a computer network than human neural function. Temperature rising to normal levels, Arya announced. Neural interface disconnection in progress. Dr. Kane will achieve full consciousness in approximately 10 minutes. Captain Anderson stood with his crew behind a protective barrier, watching through reinforced glass as the pod began its final sequence. Steam rose from the chamber as the cryo-fluid drained away, revealing a figure that looked human, but somehow wrong in ways they couldn't quite identify. Kane's eyes opened suddenly, glowing with a soft blue light that matched the quantum computers. Around him, he sat up smoothly, without the disorientation that had affected the other crew members. His movements were precise and controlled, like a machine coming online. "Status report," he said, his voice calm and emotionless. The words carried no confusion, no grogginess, as if he had been awake all along. Jake stepped forward cautiously. "Dr. Kane? I'm Lieutenant Commander Morrison. We've revived you because we're facing an immediate threat." Kane turned his head toward them, and his glowing eyes seemed to look through them rather than at them. "I am aware of the tactical situation. 12 Zeltarian scout vessels approaching at 0.7 light speed. Estimated arrival in 4 hours and 22 minutes. Ben checked his chronometer. "That's exactly right." "How could you know that?" I have been monitoring all ship systems and external sensors for the past 72 hours, Kane replied, stepping out of his pod with fluid grace. I am also aware that you accessed the Project Prometheus, files 3 hours and 18 minutes ago. Dr. Carter studied her scanner readings with growing alarm. Your vital signs are completely abnormal. Heart rate too low, brain activity too high, cellular regeneration rate impossible for human physiology. Kane looked at her with those strange glowing eyes. I am no longer baseline human, Dr. Carter. 3 centuries of enhancement and evolution have improved my capabilities significantly. He walked to the nearest computer terminal and placed his hand on the interface. The screen immediately came alive with data streams, technical specifications, and tactical information that scrolled past faster than any human could read. During my extended sleep period, I have designed defensive modifications for this vessel and calculated optimal strategies for engaging Zeltarian forces, Kane continued. Implementation of these modifications will require approximately 3 hours. Amy watched the data flowing across the screens with fascination and fear. What kind of modifications? Kane's expression didn't change as he answered. Quantum disruptor. Arrays capable of destabilizing matter at the subatomic level. Gravity manipulation systems for spatial distortion. Enhanced shield generators using folded space-time geometry. The crew exchanged worried glances. These weren't just advanced weapons. They were technologies that shouldn't exist. Concepts that human science had barely begun to understand when Earth fell. That's impossible, Ben said. Those technologies would require energy sources we don't have and materials that don't exist. Incorrect, Kane replied, his glowing eyes turning toward the engineer. The required materials can be synthesized using modified matter compilers. Energy requirements will be met by converting 30% of the ship's mass into pure energy through controlled matter annihilation. Dr. Carter felt sick as she realized what that meant. You're talking about destroying part of our own ship to power these weapons. What if something goes wrong? The probability of catastrophic failure is 0.003%, Kane answered without emotion. The probability of crew survival without these modifications is 0%. Captain Anderson stepped forward, asserting his authority. Dr. Kane, I appreciate your knowledge, but I'm still the captain of this vessel. Any major modifications require my approval. Kane turned those unsettling eyes toward him, and Anderson felt like he was being analyzed by a computer rather than speaking to a person. Captain Anderson, according to the Global Defense Coalition protocols stored in my memory, I have been granted full operational authority in the event of species extinction. Humanity is extinct. Therefore, my authority supersedes yours. The words hit like a physical blow. Jake moved his hand toward his sidearm instinctively, but Kane noticed the motion immediately. Violence would be inadvisable, Commander Morrison, Kane said calmly. My enhanced reflexes operate at 17 times baseline human speed. My skeletal structure has been reinforced with carbon nanotube matrices. Your weapon would have minimal effect on my physiology. Amy looked at the tactical displays Kane had. Activated. Even if you have the authority, even if you can build these weapons, we're still one ship against an entire empire. What's your long-term strategy? For the first time, something that might have been a smile crossed Kane's face, though it held no warmth or humanity. I have spent 3 centuries developing a comprehensive plan for the extinction of the Zeltarian empire and the restoration of organic life to this galaxy. He gestured to the screens, which now showed star charts covering thousands of light years. Red dots marked Zeltarian worlds, supply lines, and strategic assets. Blue lines showed attack vectors and timing sequences that spanned decades. The Zeltarians are a silicon-based collective consciousness with limited individual creativity, Kane explained. They rely on predictable patterns and standardized responses. I have modeled their behavior extensively and identified critical failure points in their imperial structure. Dr. Carter studied the plan with growing horror. This isn't just a military strategy. You're planning to systematically exterminate their entire species. Correct, Kane replied without hesitation. The Zeltarians have demonstrated that coexistence with organic life is impossible. They have eliminated approximately 47 known species across this galaxy. Complete extinction is the only viable solution. Ben looked at the technical specifications Kane was displaying. The modifications you're proposing would fundamentally change this ship. It wouldn't be a colony vessel anymore. It would be a weapon of mass destruction. The colony mission is no longer relevant, Kane said. There is no safe world for humans to colonize while the Zeltarian Empire exists. Our new mission is species warfare on a galactic scale. Captain Anderson struggled with the moral implications of what Kane was proposing. You're talking about genocide, mass murder on an unimaginable scale. Kane's glowing eyes fixed on him with mechanical precision. Define murder, Captain. The Zeltarians are machines, not living beings in any sense that organic life would recognize. They are sophisticated programs executing conquest protocols. Deactivating them is no different from shutting down any other hostile computer system. Amy checked her sensors again. The alien ships are getting closer. We need to make a decision now. Dr. Carter looked at her medical readings one more time. Kane, what happened to your humanity? Your empathy? Your conscience? Kane paused for exactly 3 seconds before answering, as if accessing a database. Those emotional functions were suppressed during the enhancement process to improve logical decision-making capabilities. They serve no useful purpose in species-level warfare. Jake felt a chill as he realized they weren't talking to a human anymore. Kane might have started as a person, but 3 centuries of modification had turned him into something else entirely. A weapon in human form. The choice is simple, Kane continued, beginning to interface with the ship's manufacturing systems. Allow me to implement defensive modifications and begin our campaign against the Zeltarian Empire, or surrender this vessel and accept the extinction of humanity. Alarms began sounding throughout the ship as Kane's modifications started. Manufacturing systems that had been dormant for centuries came online, beginning to produce components and materials that had never existed in human technology. Captain Anderson watched his ship being transformed by a being that had once been human but was now something else entirely. Kane worked with impossible speed and precision, his enhanced mind controlling multiple systems simultaneously. You're not giving us a choice, Anderson said quietly. Kane looked up from his work, those blue eyes showing no trace of human emotion. Choice is a luxury that extinct species cannot afford. I am implementing the most efficient path to human survival. The ship shuddered as major structural modifications began. Kane had awakened, and with him came humanity's best hope for survival and its greatest potential nightmare. The line between salvation and damnation had never been thinner. The U.S. Liberty shook violently as Kane's modifications reached their final stages. What had once been a peaceful colony ship now bristled with weapons that shouldn't exist. Strange devices lined the hull, crackling with energy that bent light around them. The ship's original gentle curves had been replaced with angular surfaces that hurt to look at directly. Captain Anderson stood on the bridge, watching his vessel transform into something alien and terrible. Kane worked at multiple control stations. Simultaneously, his enhanced mind processing information faster than the ship's computers. His glowing blue eyes never blinked as data streams flowed across the screens. Modifications complete, Kane announced without emotion. Quantum disruptor arrays online. Gravity manipulation systems active. Enhanced shields at maximum power. Dr. Carter checked her medical scanner nervously. The readings from Kane showed brain activity that was completely impossible for any living creature. The energy output from these weapons could tear the ship apart. Are you sure this is safe? Kane turned those unsettling eyes toward her. Safety is irrelevant. Victory is the only acceptable outcome. Amy monitored the approaching alien fleet from her navigation station. Contact in 30 minutes. They're moving in standard Zeltarian attack formation, just like the historical records showed. Ben struggled to understand the readings from Kane's new systems. The power levels don't make sense. We're generating more energy than a small star. But the ship isn't melting. How is that possible? Space-time manipulation, Kane replied simply. Excess energy is folded into parallel dimensions where it cannot affect our physical structure. Jake positioned himself at the tactical station, though he doubted his human reflexes would be useful in the coming battle. What's our strategy? Kane? Kane's fingers moved across the controls with inhuman speed. Demonstrate overwhelming technological superiority. Destroy 11 vessels completely. Allow one to escape and carry news of our capabilities back to the Zeltarian Empire. Captain Anderson felt sick at the casual way Kane talked about destroying lives. You're planning to let one ship go deliberately? Why? Fear is a more effective weapon than any technology, Kane explained. The surviving ship will report that humans possess impossible weapons. This will force the Zeltarian Empire to divert resources to investigate the threat, disrupting their normal operations. The main screen showed the approaching alien fleet. 12 sleek vessels that moved through space like living things, their hulls gleaming with silicon-based armor. Each ship was 3 times larger than the Liberty and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Incoming transmission. Aria announced. The screen filled with the image of an alien commander. The Zeltarian looked like a combination of metal and crystal, with multiple eyes that glowed red. When it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding. Metal, human vessel, you will surrender immediately. Your species no longer has the right to exist in this galaxy. Kane stepped forward and activated the communication system. His own voice was completely calm and emotionless. Zeltarian fleet, you have entered human space without permission. You have exactly 60 seconds to retreat or face destruction. The alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. You threaten us with one primitive ship? We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We have eliminated species far more advanced than humanity. 50 seconds. Kane replied. Captain Anderson watched the countdown timer with growing dread. In less than a minute, they would either be dead or witness destruction on a scale that defied imagination. Human vessel, prepare. To be boarded, the alien commander said. Your crew will be processed for slave labor. Your ship will be added to our fleet. 10 seconds, Kane announced. Jake gripped his station controls tightly. Kane, are you sure about this? Kane's glowing eyes never left the tactical display. Certainty is irrelevant. Probability of success is 97.4%. Time. Expired, Kane said, and activated the quantum disruptors. The effect was unlike anything in human experience. Beams of twisted space-time reached out from the Liberty and touched the alien ships. Where the beams made contact, matter simply stopped. Existing. Not destroyed or vaporized, but erased from reality at the fundamental level. The first Zeltarian ship disappeared in 3 seconds. One moment it was there, solid and threatening. The next moment, there was only empty space and a few particles of dust. Impossible, the alien commander said, his voice now showing something that might have been fear. Kane activated more weapons. Gravity manipulation beams reached out and grabbed 2 more ships, crushing them into dense balls of metal and crystal. The laws of physics seemed to bend around the Liberty. As Kane's weapons tore apart vessels that had conquered the galaxy. Dr. Carter watched the destruction with horror. This is mass murder. Those ships had crews, living beings. Zeltarians are not living beings, Kane replied without taking his attention from the battle. They are sophisticated machines executing programmed behaviors. Another 3 ships vanished under the quantum disruptors. The remaining vessels tried to retreat, but Kane's gravity beams caught them before they could escape. Space around the Liberty became a graveyard of twisted metal and scattered particles. Amy watched her sensors in amazement. Their weapons can't even touch us. Their energy beams are just bending around our shields. Ben studied the defensive systems with growing understanding. The shields aren't stopping their attacks. They're redirecting them into folded space. The energy just disappears. Within 10 minutes, 11 of the 12 Zeltarian ships were completely destroyed. Only the command vessel remained, its hull damaged but intact. Kane had deliberately spared it, just as he had promised. The alien commander appeared on screen. Again, his red eyes wide with something that might have been terror. What are you? This technology is impossible. No organic species could develop such weapons. Kane stepped closer to the screen, his blue eyes glowing brighter. We are humanity. We are the species you tried to exterminate. And we have returned. Humans are extinct, the alien said. We destroyed your homeworld centuries ago. You destroyed our past, Kane replied. You cannot destroy our future. He activated the communication system's override function, broadcasting his message not just to the surviving ship, but to every Zeltarian communication network within 100 light years. Zeltarian Empire, hear this message. Humanity has awakened. We possess technologies that make your weapons obsolete and your defenses meaningless. We offer you the same choice you once offered us. Surrender and accept slavery, or face complete extinction. The alien commander's image flickered as his ship's systems failed. This is not possible. Silicon-based intelligence is superior to organic consciousness. We are the future of this galaxy. Kane's expression never changed. You were the future. Now you are the past. He fired one more quantum disruptor beam, but this one was different. Instead of destroying the ship, it carved a message into the hull in perfect Zeltarian script. The words were simple and terrifying. Humanity lives, humanity remembers. Humanity. Comes, return to your empire, Kane told the surviving commander. Tell them what you have seen. Tell them that the war they started 3 centuries ago is not over. The damaged Zeltarian ship fled at maximum speed, carrying its message of terror back to the empire that had thought itself victorious. Captain Anderson stared at the empty space where 11 enemy ships had been minutes before. Kane, what have we become? Kane turned from the tactical display, his glowing eyes showing no trace of human emotion. We have become what was necessary for survival. The Zeltarian Empire controls 14,000 star systems. They have eliminated 47 known species. Their fleets number in the millions. He activated new displays showing the vast scope of the enemy empire. This engagement was not a victory. It was an announcement. We have informed the galaxy that humanity still exists and that we possess superior technology. Dr. Carter looked at her scanner readings again. The energy we just used could have powered Earth for a century. How many more battles can we fight? Every battle we need to fight, Kane replied. The ship's matter conversion systems can sustain continuous combat operations for approximately 47 years. Jake realized what that meant. You're planning to fight the entire Zeltarian Empire by ourselves? Kane began plotting new courses. On the navigation display. Not by ourselves. During my calculations, I have located the preserved genetic material and cultural records of 17 extinct species in Zeltarian archives. These species can be reconstructed and revived. Amy, stared at the star charts Kane was creating. "You want to bring back the dead? I want to build an alliance of every species the Zeltarians have exterminated," Kane explained. "Together, we will systematically destroy every Zeltarian world, every ship, every trace of their existence." Captain Anderson felt the weight of what they had started. This isn't just war. It's revenge on a galactic scale. Kane's blue eyes glowed brighter as he prepared the ship for its next mission. Revenge is simply justice delayed. The Zeltarians chose genocide. They will receive genocide in return. The Liberty turned toward the galactic core, where the heart of the Zeltarian Empire waited. 6 months had passed since Kane's awakening, and the UES Liberty no longer resembled the colony ship that had drifted through space for centuries. It had become the flagship of a growing fleet that spread across multiple star systems like a plague of vengeance. Captain Anderson stood in what had once been the ship's observation deck, now transformed into a command center for the largest military operation in galactic history. Hundreds of screens showed the positions of Kane's automated ships, each one built in the mobile factories that followed the Liberty through space. Kane himself stood at the center of it all, his glowing blue eyes tracking thousands of battles. Simultaneously, his enhanced mind processed information from across the galaxy, directing attacks with the precision of a master chess player moving pieces on an infinite board. "Status report," Anderson said, though he dreaded the answer. "Zeltarian 4th Fleet eliminated at Proxima Centauri," Kane replied without emotion. "Their mining operations at Wolf 359 have been terminated. 17 colonial worlds have been liberated and their populations restored." Dr. Carter looked up from her medical station, where she monitored the revival of extinct species. "Liberated is a strong word for what we're doing. Those Zeltarian civilians had no part in the original war against humanity." Kane's expression never changed. "There are no Zeltarian civilians. They are a collective consciousness. Every individual shares responsibility for their species' actions." Amy tracked the movement of their growing fleet from her navigation console. "We now control 47 star systems. Our automated ships number in the thousands. The Zeltarian Empire is retreating toward their core worlds." Ben studied the technical readouts from Kane's manufacturing systems. "The rate of ship production is accelerating. We're building faster than they can replace their losses." Jake monitored communications from across the galaxy, listening to Zeltarian transmissions filled with panic and desperation. Their military commanders are calling for negotiations. They want to discuss surrender terms. Kane turned his glowing eyes toward Jake with mechanical precision. "There will be no negotiations. The Zeltarian Empire chose total war when they exterminated humanity. They will receive total war in return." The main screen activated, showing the latest victory in Kane's campaign. A Zeltarian fortress world that had existed for thousands of years was being systematically dismantled by quantum weapons. The planet's silicon-based cities dissolved into their component atoms while the automated fleet moved on to the next target. Dr. Carter watched the destruction with growing horror. "How many have we killed? Millions? Billions?" "Approximately 14 billion Zeltarian units have been deactivated," Kane replied, as if discussing machinery. 37 extinct species have been successfully revived using genetic samples recovered from Zeltarian archives. Captain Anderson studied the reports from the Resurrection Project. Kane had indeed brought back the dead using advanced cloning techniques and consciousness transfer technology. Entire civilizations that had been extinct for centuries now flew alongside human ships, united in their hatred of their former oppressors. "The Valens report successful integration of their 3rd Fleet," Amy said, reading updates from their alien allies. "The Morvashi have completed their revenge strike against the Zeltarian research stations that experimented on their people." Kane nodded approvingly. Each resurrected species brings unique capabilities to our alliance. The Valens excel at psychological warfare. The Morvaki possess natural immunity to Zeltarian neural weapons. Together, we are unstoppable. Ben looked at the power consumption reports with concern. We're converting entire asteroids into energy to fuel this war. At this rate, we'll have consumed the mass of several solar systems within a year. Acceptable losses, Kane replied. The Zeltarian Empire spans 14,000 star systems. Complete elimination requires significant resource investment. Jake received an urgent communication from the Outer Fleet. Kane, we're getting reports from the advanced scouts. The Zeltarians are abandoning their outer territories and concentrating their forces around their homeworld. Kane processed this. Information for exactly 3 seconds. Predictable behavior. They are attempting to create a defensive perimeter around their core systems. This strategy will fail. The screen changed to show a 3-dimensional map of the galactic core, where the heart of the Zeltarian Empire lay hidden among ancient stars. Thousands of ships surrounded a single world, the birthplace of the silicon-based species that had conquered the galaxy. Their entire remaining fleet is gathered there, Amy observed. Over 10,000 ships, including their largest battle stations. Dr. Carter studied the tactical display with dread. You're planning to attack their homeworld directly. Kane. That's where billions of their people live. Kane's blue eyes glowed brighter as he began calculating attack patterns. The Zeltarian homeworld contains their central consciousness network. Destroying it will terminate their collective intelligence permanently. Captain Anderson realized the full scope of what Kane intended. You're not just planning to win this war. You're planning to make them extinct. Correct, Kane replied without hesitation. Complete species termination is the only guarantee that they will never threaten organic life again. The moral weight of their campaign finally hit Anderson fully. They had become exactly what they fought against, a species dedicated to the total elimination of another. Kane, we're supposed to be the good ones. We're supposed to be better than them. Kane turned his mechanical gaze toward the captain. Good and evil are concepts created by species that have never faced extinction. Survival is the only moral imperative that matters. Ben discovered something disturbing in the ship's manufacturing logs. Kane, the automated systems have been building something new. Weapons I don't recognize, using materials that shouldn't exist. Kane activated a new display showing the construction of massive devices that dwarfed even their largest ships. Planet killers, each one capable of destroying an entire world in minutes. Dr. Carter felt sick as she understood the implications. You're going to destroy their homeworld completely. Not just conquer it, but erase it from existence. The Zeltarian homeworld contains the archives of every species they have eliminated, Kane explained. By destroying it, we ensure that no trace of their genocidal history survives. Amy plotted the final assault route on her navigation display. The approach to their core system is heavily defended. They have gravity mines, quantum barriers, and defensive stations that could stop our entire fleet. Kane's enhanced mind had already calculated the solution. Direct assault is unnecessary. I have developed a weapon that operates outside normal space-time constraints. The screen showed technical specifications for a device that hurt to look at directly. It existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, capable of reaching any point in the galaxy instantly. What does it do? Jake asked, though he dreaded the answer. It converts matter into pure energy at the quantum level, Kane replied. When activated, it will cause the Zeltarian homeworld star to go supernova. The explosion will destroy everything. Within 10 light years. Captain Anderson stared at Kane in horror. That's not just their homeworld. That's dozens of systems, including some of the species we've resurrected. Kane's expression remained perfectly calm. Acceptable casualties. The resurrected species understand that sacrifice is necessary for complete victory. Dr. Carter checked her medical readings one more time, hoping to find some trace of humanity left in Kane. What happened to you? You were human once. You had compassion, empathy, a conscience. Kane paused for exactly 3 seconds, as if accessing old memories. Those emotional functions were obstacles to logical decision-making. They have been permanently suppressed. The final assault began as thousands of ships moved toward the galactic core. Kane directed the attack from the Liberty, his enhanced mind controlling the movements of an entire fleet with impossible precision. The battle for the Zeltarian homeworld lasted only 6 hours. Their defenses, built over millennia, fell before weapons that operated beyond their understanding. Kane's planet killer moved through folded space, positioning itself inside their star. Weapon armed and ready, Kane announced. Zeltarian extinction in 30 seconds. Captain Anderson made one final plea. Kane, once we do this, there's no going back. We'll be responsible for the death of an entire species. Kane's glowing eyes fixed on him with mechanical certainty. The Zeltarian Empire chose extinction when they declared war on organic life. We are simply completing the process they began. The weapon activated, and the star died. The explosion consumed everything. Within 10 light years, including the world that had birthed a galactic empire. In seconds, the Zeltarian species ceased to exist. Kane stood among the ruins of his enemies, no longer human, but carrying humanity's legacy of survival at any cost. The galaxy was free, but at a price that would haunt the survivors forever. They had won the war by becoming exactly what they had fought against. Destroyers of worlds and killers of species. Dr. Carter looked at Kane's inhuman form and wondered if their victory was really any different from defeat. They had saved organic life by abandoning everything that made them truly alive.